The world around us is an amazing place filled with beauty and with science. But let's face it, sometimes the science can be so confusing that it takes a PhD to understand it. Well, you're in luck. I just happen to have a PhD. Come and take a seat. Perhaps I can explain the world around us in a way we all can understand. Welcome to Conversations in Science. I'm Dr. Judy L Mohr. Call me Doc. Wish you Merry Christmas, my darling budlings in America. Preen your feathers and stretch the bird's nest a trifle, if you please, and let Uncle Jack in for the holidays. I'm coming with such a trunk full of treasures that you'll have to borrow with the stockings from Barnum's Giant and Giantess. I'm coming to squeeze a little ladybird until she cries for mercy. I'm coming to see that if I can find a boy to take care of the black pony that I bought lately. It's a strange thing I ever knew. I hunted all over Europe and can't find a boy to suit me. I'll tell you why. I've set my heart on finding one with a dimple in his chin because this pony particularly likes dimples. Okay, it's not story time. But hi, guys. I am Dr. Judy L Mohr, and that, by the way, was a little excerpt from a Christmas story that actually comes from 1888. It's called The Bird's Christmas Carol by Kate Wiggin.
Doc,
I
got a surprise. If we're doing Christmas stuff early, I got a surprise.
Okay.
I wonder if my surprise is going to pop up.
Uh-oh.
I have some Christmas wishes for you myself from Iceberg, Pennsylvania. What I call my little town of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Merry Christmas from Science George.
Oh my God, hello!
Hi.
Merry Christmas, Doc?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's just so awesome! For those who are just listening to the show, Science George has been following me on Twitter for a good number of months now, and every single time we put out an episode of Conversations in Science, he is one of the first ones out there and retweeting and helping us promote the show. Oh my God, that's so awesome. Thank you. Welcome.
I had to do something.
I take it you were surprised?
I am surprised. She was a cheeky little bugger. So that's so cool. Thank you. So welcome. So before we get too much into today's topic, basically that story, that little bit that I was writing, the reason why it's important to me is because the story itself is about a little girl who's born on Christmas Day. And my great-great-grandmother was born on Christmas Day. And so this book was actually hers. It's dated 1888, and it's found my loving hands, and I cherish it, and I hope my daughter will cherish it when it gets passed to her loving hands. So before we get into our topic, is there anything that you guys feel is a tradition that you just have to celebrate, that makes you want to celebrate?
Well, it's not Christmas without It's a Wonderful Life. Got to watch that every year.
That is a great movie. I love that movie. That's a fantastic movie.
Maybe I should actually watch it one of these years. And George, just for the complete explanation here, I'm Jewish. I don't celebrate Christmas.
Oh.
So it's Chinese.
Well, you could look at It's a Wonderful Life as a science fiction movie in a sense. I mean, it is a parallel reality. I mean, it's brought about by intervention through an angel, but it's an alternate reality where things were different, and it's a sort of a view of what things would be like without, things would be like in life without someone and versus with them, and you see how wonderful it is to be alive, and hence the title.
Oh, I could definitely watch it. It's just I'm usually working. That tends to be my holiday tradition because the company I work for is open 24/7, 365. I tend to go to work on Christmas Day so that people for whom the day is special can have it off.
Well, I know that
That
it's
sounds
broadcast
perfectly
a little differently now. I think once NBC required the rights to it, they started limiting it, trying to make it special once or twice a season. But I remember prior to that, it seems like every channel had it on. I mean, it was hundreds of times throughout the Thanksgiving through New Year's corridor.
And you could probably find it on various other channels now too. Dare I say, it is probably floating around the internet.
So that too, yeah.
Okay, today.
Well, first,
Doc.
First, George, are you going to hang out with us while we record this episode, or do you need to get going?
I can hang out with you. Sounds fun.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Right.
I didn't want to put a crimp in any of our unexpected guests' holiday plans. Oh, and Doc, I dug something else out.
Oh no. Yes,
Ho,
the sleigh
ho,
bells.
ho! Merry Christmas!
She's having fun. Can you tell she's having fun? Meanwhile, Jess.
All right.
Last year, you accused me of dipping into the eggnog a little bit too early. Hey, I stand by what I said last year. The reason why no one has found Santa's workshop is because they've been looking in the wrong spot all these years. It's just in the wrong spot. They've been looking in the Arctic. North Pole, Arctic makes sense. But the North Pole is really in Antarctica. Scientifically, it's in Antarctica. End of story. I stand by that. And no, I have not dipped in the eggnog. But I decided this year we were going to ask the question, is it even possible that Santa can travel around the world in one night to deliver all the presents to the boys and girls around the world?
Okay, Doc.
I've done some science.
Doc,
I've done some math.
First, have you hit the eggnog yet?
No, I have not hit the eggnog. I would not be able to formulate a calculator if I had hit the eggnog. Trust me, my finger pushing button goes cuckoo if I'm even a little tipsy. I have not hit the eggnog.
George, what were you trying to say?
Hmm?
Oh, I thought
I'm having fun. I'm listening.
Okay.
Okay, so let's think about this first thing. We always say that Santa comes at midnight to deliver his presents.
Okay.
Well, the first question I need to ask is, where in the world is it midnight? Which midnight? Where is it? The reason why I ask this is because my listeners should know by now that I'm in New Zealand, and I'm in one of the time zones that sees the new day first. So I get to see Christmas before everybody else does. But I'm almost a whole day in front of the US. In fact, I am a whole day in front of America Samoa. There's 24 hours. The Earth takes 24 hours for every single point on the world to actually see the new day. So if Santa's going to be going to various different places at midnight, well, he's actually got 24 hours to do it. Then you add on top of this that Santa actually probably has a little bit more, because you want to tell me what child actually goes to sleep at midnight? Especially young children, they don't. They go to sleep at like 10, maybe 9, if we're lucky. 6.
George?
Can we be lucky?
So possibly sunset the day before to sunrise the day after.
Exactly. Now, so if I go by New Zealand, if I go where I am, because we're so far south, sunset, believe it or not, for me at the moment is around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Sunrise at the moment is about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning if I'm lucky. And it was a big joke when my children were really little. I've got 2 teenagers now. It was a big joke because my son is solar powered. And he would. Christmas Eve would come and he'd be all hyperactive and would refuse to go to sleep until that sun went down at 10 o'clock at night. And he'd be up and bright and cheery at 5 o'clock in the morning. So if we're going from sundown to sunup, so you're talking what? There's another 7 hours there. So that's still in the order of about 30 to 31 hours that Santa has to go around the world. That sounds pretty cool to me. I mean, that's 30 hours. Okay,
I suspect you're going to mention there's a lot of ground he has to cover in that time, though.
Yeah, exactly. He does. Now, let's just think about technology that we have, the current technology we have. If I was to get on a plane here in New Zealand and I was to fly to, say, England, it will take me 23 hours, thereabouts, with 5 of those hours being in the airport. Literally. I'm just sitting there waiting in the airport for 5 hours. I don't think Santa's going to use a commercial airline, to be honest. He's going to have his own private little jet.
Whoa. And what happened to the sleigh and the reindeer, Doc?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, here's part of my theory, okay? The sleigh. The sleigh is a historic thing, and it probably worked really, really well. Sleigh and the reindeer worked really, really well when Christmas and majority of the population was confined pretty much to Europe. If you were traveling just through Europe, going through on a sleigh back then probably would have been quite cool. But today, Christmas is spread throughout the entire world. I'm sorry, the sleigh is not practical anymore. Not only that, I don't know about anybody else, but I wouldn't want to be flying in a sleigh over the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean or any ocean for that matter. Not only is it going to be really, really, really cold, because it does get cold out at sea. Sorry, it does. Even if in the middle of summer, it gets really, really cold. But all the presents would also get the mist coming up from the ocean spray coming up. And they would get all soggy. And soggy chocolate biscuits are not nice. You know, soggy chocolate cookies. No, not a good thing. Not happening. No. No. So he's probably now flying a jet. And I've taken a look. The fastest recorded jet in the world, fastest recorded jet in history, was actually the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird from 1966. We haven't made a jet that goes faster yet. We have jets that are probably a lot more stable and they can do some other really funky things, but the fastest jet in recorded history is the Blackbird.
I was thinking of possibly the Concorde, but yes, I guess if he's allowed to have military technology, go with the SR-71 Blackbird.
Yeah, exactly. And the Blackbird went Mach 3.5. So that's 3.5 times the speed of sound. To give you an idea, and I've done the numbers. Okay, whoa, yeah, that's a fast jet. The Blackbird was traveling at over 2,000 miles per hour at its top speed. It was actually 3,540 kilometers per hour is what its recorded speed is. And that is really fast. Really, really, really fast. Especially when you consider things like the Concorde. They were going at, I think, 1.5 times the speed of sound. It wasn't anywhere near as fast as this thing. Now, there might be jets engines out there that are faster. We don't know. This is the one that's in the public domain. Now, the reason why I say that is because, let's face it, Santa's rich. He's buying presents or making presents. He's got presents for all the boys and girls of the world who believe in him. He's got to be rich. So money's not an issue. What was that?
I said the raw materials alone, would have to require him to be wealthy.
Exactly, the raw materials alone just to make all those prisons. I'm sorry, he's a wealthy man. Money is not a problem, so he probably has a few of the military guys and military research. So he probably has his hands on whatever the military happens to have, which may be faster than the Blackbird. Don't know. But he definitely has access to stealth technology. That is definite. There's no way he would be able to get into some of those countries so sneakily below the radar unless he has stealth technology. Sorry.
Whoa, Doc.
He has
then
it.
how does NORAD track him?
Well, I think he actually has on board a special GPS tracker that he allows certain people to actually have access to that information as to where they are. And that's probably how NORAD tracks him.
Cool.
They gave him a special
encrypted
tracker.
transponder or something.
Yeah, just a special thing. Because let's face it, even with the stealth technology and the stealth planes that you had, that the U.S. military in particular have, there is still this ability to track the plane by the unit that's communicating with them, and the other on U.S. state side. They still have that ability, and there's going to be a special signal or special something that only the U.S. military have got their hands on. And the odds are that if somebody else finds it and hacks it, they probably just change it because they can. Why not?
All right. I'm with you so far, Doc.
Okay,
George,
so I'm not completely insane?
are you buying this?
Well, the famous Judy L Mohr and the rotating frequencies that's used in the military today, even in cell phone encryption technology. I'm on board with this so far.
Okay.
See? I'm not mad. There's another science guy. He's all into it. Okay, so coming back to the speed of the thing, the speed of Santa and how fast he travels. Let's say he's traveling at Mach 3, not Mach 3.5. And the reason why I say that is because the Blackbird is the fastest plane. It was 3.5. And if you are running any engine at its fastest possible for a long duration of time, you will burn it out. The engine will start to fail. It will have issues. They are only designed to go at their top speed for a short burst. They're not designed to go for hours on end. Remember, he's traveling in the order of 30 hours. Okay? So that's why I'm saying Mach 3. And Mach 3, that brings him down to around about 2,000 miles per hour. Slightly more, but not by much. Okay? Based on that speed, if he was just to travel the circumference of the Earth, and the circumference of the Earth is just under 25 miles or 40, it's just over 40 kilometers, depending on which metric system you're using, whether you're using imperial or the standard metric.
25,000 here because America never converted. They promised us back in the 70s going to metric, but it never happened.
Yeah, so depending on which system you're using, if he's traveling around the world at Mach 3, just the circumference, it's going to take him 10.8 hours just to travel around the circumference. So if he's got 30 hours, he's got about just enough time, not quite, to actually travel around the world 3 times. Now, he's not going to be traveling just the circumference of the Earth. He's going to be doing this zigzag pattern that goes from one pole to the other. Regardless whether we're talking about whether he comes from the Arctic or the Antarctic, he's still going to be doing this zigzag pattern going from one side of the planet to the other side, regardless. So he's got a bit of leeway there on how to actually do that little zigzag pattern. And going from country to country, he's probably going at his top speed. And then once he's in the country, he probably slows down. Is it possible? I think it is. Just. But I don't know what technology Santa's got. I'm only going by what's in public domain. For all I know, he could be using a jet that was, or a rocket engine that's like the one that was launched in 2009, New Horizons. The New Horizons satellite is the fastest recorded rocket in history. And I mean, that thing was fast. It traveled at 36,000 miles per hour. And it was traveling at, so if I convert that to a Mach, it was in the order of Mach 16. 16 times the speed of sound. That thing was moving fast.
Ouch.
And the reason why it had to be moving that fast, is because it had to escape the Earth and solar orbit. Because New Horizons is the one that was sent out towards Pluto. It's like way out there. And it's gone. It's been traveling a long time. And it's been trying to get away from the solar system. Okay, so it needs to be moving at that speed if it's going to actually overcome the gravitational pull of the sun. Is Santa going to be riding something that fast? Probably not. Because Santa's still a human being, and anything moving that fast is going to basically have such huge G-forces on the body, and he might turn to liquid soup. Yeah, no, let's not go there.
Hey, George, I don't want to liquefy Santa, do you?
No. I was also thinking possibly atmospheric disturbances, shock waves and the like.
Yeah, no, see, that in itself, I mean, the sonic booms are bad enough. I mean, you get those when the space shuttle was coming in. You would get, it was this successive boom. There was normally, I think there was like 2 of them that came through.
Yeah, the
as
leading
they were
and trailing edge.
Yeah, and that's how they knew that the shuttle had come into the atmosphere, because they could hear it. But yeah, no, I don't think Santa's doing anything that extreme, to be honest. No. But he's probably got something that's probably close to the Blackbird, if not slightly faster.
All right, so Santa is flying a jet, and I'm guessing you're going to tell me that his jet is call signed the sleigh.
Well, why not? That makes perfect sense to me, doesn't it? And you know what? I think his pilot, because Santa probably doesn't fly the plane himself. I mean, this guy is always jumping out of the plane probably, and sort of skydiving maybe, and going through chimneys. Or he's throwing things out the window, or, throwing things out the door, or I don't know. The guy is probably not the pilot. The pilot is probably someone whose call sign is Rudolph. Okay, maybe I have had an eggnog. I'm starting to sound cuckoo, aren't I?
George, I told you this episode would be a hoot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, somebody help me out here. How crazy am I going? How crazy do I sound? Is this even plausible? Does it sound plausible to you?
Well, the Concorde used to go New York to Europe in 3 hours.
A little concerned with that zigzagging between the homes, slow, the acceleration, deceleration, slowing him down, and also the part about actually delivering the presents, getting out of the vehicle, and it would be nice if he had some way of, I don't know, even further futuristic technology, beaming them in directly from the jet. Of course, then he wouldn't be limited to just jet technology either.
Oh, well, since you're talking about transporter technology, we actually, transporter technology does exist. It's still in its experimental phases, but it does exist. The last I heard that they were able to actually properly teleport a photon.
Yes, that's the
For those of you who don't know what a photon is basically a particle of light. I question how they were able to tag the photon so they could say that was the photon we transported over there. I I'm not quite sure how they did that. But from what I understand, they have done a photon.
Well, actually, Doc, people have experimented with teleportation, or it could always just come back to Santa has magic.
Yes. Well, the thing is teleportation would look like magic anyway, wouldn't it? Because we don't have that technology properly at the moment. And anybody who looks at it would go, oh my God, it's magic. So, yeah. Yeah.
I believe that was Isaac Asimov's point of view. The something like an iPad brought to a Neanderthal, they're going to see that as magic. It's made out of the same raw materials as we lived in the same world, but for them to imagine how they could get to that from the tools that they had, there's no viable bridge. It's just going to be magic.
Yeah, it's things like photographs as well. When photographic technology first came around, you actually had a lot of the tribes were, you'd have the photographers traveling around the world, and they were taking photos on their photographic plates. So we're going back, to the 1800s, and they had the photographic plates, and they were going and photographing like the Africans and some of the people from South America, and people thought you were capturing their soul, you were stealing their soul, because suddenly they were on this photographic plate. And it's like, how is that possible? Again, they think it's magic, but it's not. It had a scientific logic and a scientific reasoning. So yeah, Santa, he probably does have what we would consider magic, because he probably has technology at his disposal that we know nothing about. We've got no clue.
So are you saying that the U.S. military is using Santa to R&D some of its technology?
I don't see why not. Especially the transport technology. Why not?
What do you think about that one,
perhaps
George?
A warp drive sleigh?
Ooh, warp drive.
Yeah, I just thought that through. Yeah, I would imagine there might be issues of setting the atmosphere on fire, so yeah, maybe not a warp drive sleigh.
But maybe an impulse engine instead,
Yeah,
maybe they've got. Maybe they have actually secretly created one of the shuttles.
They were concerned that possibly it would ignite the atmosphere. Yeah, that'd be bad.
But maybe they went through and made one of the shuttles from Star Trek. Those things were traveling really fast. I don't know. Just a thought.
There was cross inspiration. They did name the first shuttle Enterprise, the prototype at least.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that thing, it never went into space, but it definitely was airborne. It flew. They had to test the landing sequences and the landing gear and all that sort of stuff somehow. So that's what they did. Is they actually, I think they towed it into air. I think it was on one of those. I think they actually put it on the back of one of the big Boeing planes, flew it up, let it go, watch it land. So yeah, why not? Yeah, the U.S. military is letting Santa test R&D stuff. Why not? He's got the money. He can get in there.
And he already works with NORAD. We've established that.
Yeah.
Wait, Santa, now, in addition to being vastly wealthy, he's also an R&D genius. So basically Tony Stark. He's Iron Man.
Well, I don't know.
Suddenly got much cooler.
Iron Man, but yeah, he's of that sort of that vein. Yeah.
I don't think he has the special suit, though.
Are you sure about that?
He doesn't need protection. Everybody loves Santa.
Absolutely sure.
There's no villain to fight.
No, there's no villain to fight, so he probably doesn't have some of those other, like the guns and the rockets and all that sort of thing attached to his suit. But he probably does have a thermal insulating, fireproof suit that he wears. I would say that suit is probably a special suit. And it's probably got its own oxygen mask as well. That's probably built in too.
All
I mean,
right.
it has to if he's traveling in that speed, doesn't he?
Fitting that around his mouth with his beard, and I know this personally, that's going to be a little bit of a mess, but I guess doable.
But if he's got something that's like the Iron Man mask, still doable, isn't it?
Hermetically sealed Santa suit.
There we go.
I was picturing something like a spacesuit, except made to look like Santa's red suit.
Yeah. And I know that NASA's doing a lot of research into their spacesuits, and they're actually trying to make something that's a little bit more flexible, a lot more maneuverable. Those gloves, those big, massive gloves, they're really hard to do anything with. So if they can actually make gloves that are still have all the thermal protection that they need, but a lot more dexterity in them, hey, it makes sense to me. Surely Santa's going to be willing to try that. Okay, I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. Sorry, guys, I'm crazy.
No, it's definitely necessary. I remember seeing the documentary when Story Musgrave was working on the Hubble Space Telescope. The gloves were so pressurized, just out of necessity, that dexterity is so reduced that you need very talented people to be able to still do meaningful work under those conditions. He was just such an individual. But yes, improvements in technology would make that something better for everyone. I'm guessing Santa's not trained in NASA's special tech skills.
No, probably not. I mean, for those who are interested in looking at things like that with the gloves, there is actually a video on YouTube that comes from the NASA itself. I'm just trying to think which one of the NASA channels it's on. I can't remember. Anyway, if you Google it up.
We can add the link to the description, Doc.
Yeah, it's basically a bunch of ground staff trying to do everyday common tasks wearing those gloves. And it was hilarious. I mean, you're watching them try to tie a tie, and they're trying to use chopsticks. They're trying to tie a shoe. They're trying to do lots of things, and you just crack up laughing because it gave the interns, and I'm pretty sure that they were interns in the video, a real appreciation for the situation that the astronauts are under whenever they do an EVA. Those gloves are not easy to use.
What's an EVA?
Extra vehicle activity, or?
Oh, so when they do a spacewalk.
Yeah, it's a spacewalk.
Have to make you define these terms, Doc. I just can't remember what
the acronym is.
What was that? Yeah, that manned maneuvering unit, MMU, and lunar excursion module, LEM. And NASA loves that kind of thing. Acronyms aplenty.
I think it's a military thing, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I've got my TLA soup handy.
Okay.
And TLA stands for three-letter acronym, folks.
Okay, so my conclusion, forgetting the fact that the North Pole is really Antarctica, I'm sorry, I stand by that. I am not crazy. The North Pole is really in Antarctica. Scientifically, it is. Except, move on. But Santa probably doesn't use the sleigh anymore. He's probably just kept it for nostalgia reasons because, let's face it, sleighs are cool. They're really cool. Not only that, the sleigh he has is probably an antique and would just be gorgeous to, just occasionally take out for a ride. But he's probably using a jet of some description. And I'm thinking that he's probably using something that's along the lines of the Blackbird, which was from the 1960s. I don't know if he's got something faster, but I don't know. Blackbird is the fastest one that we've ever made. Moves at 3.5 times the speed of sound, which is round about 3,540 kilometers per hour, or just over 2,000 miles per hour. That's really fast. Really, really, really fast.
Well, you've proven it's possible, Doc. At least I think so.
It's possible.
What do you
It's
think,
plausible.
George?
I think not only plausible, I'm just imagining the marketing opportunities. Instead of just decorations under the tree, imagine the toys that the kids would want to have, these stealth hypersonic sleighs and jets and teleportation technology, all this stuff, all the accessories sold separately for the Santa collection.
Except no
lightsabers.
Awesome. No lightsabers. They don't exist.
No, lightsabers don't exist. I'm sorry for Star Wars fans. I know how much you love it, but they will never exist. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm crazy. I'm insane.
Well,
wow.
I agree. Yeah, as lightsabers. I have always assumed it was some type of particle beam weapon, just called a lightsaber. Yeah, and then as far as how it's powered, they're just beyond us. That somehow they have like a D-cell battery that has a whole power plant worth of power in it. And that's sort of the suspension of disbelief you buy going in and paying for your ticket. Which I did yesterday, seeing Star Wars 8.
Metachlorians. Okay, we won't go into Star Wars versus Star Trek. No, we won't do that.
All right, George.
It's a whole different show.
George, what we do with every guest at the end of any show is we offer them the opportunity to give out any social media contact information. Would you like to give out your Twitter handle?
Yep, it's at Science George, but there's an underscore because you can't have a hyphen on Twitter for username. So at Science_George.
All right, Doc, I think we've...
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
I think we've about done this episode. What do you think?
I think so. And thank you, George, for joining us. That was a nice surprise. I love it.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for including me. Merry Christmas to everyone there.
Hey, shall we say it, Jess?
We're out of here.
Are we going to say that wonderful thing? Because this is our Christmas special.
Oh, yes.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Merry Christmas!
Christmas!
All right.